Hello everyone, I am Juliana Lee, and these are my associates, Julie Sciaio, David Hager, and Cameron Lynch, and we are Global Visionary Consultants. Now on our agenda today, we're going to discuss the background of Nissan as well as some key analysis that are going to help develop the market plan for Nissan. Now, Nissan was founded by Yoshisuke Aikawa in 1932 and became Japan's first mass producer of automobiles. In 1999, they joined Renault and became the Renault-Nissan Alliance. Now, in order for Nissan to get its 500,000 electric vehicles by 2015, or 10% of the market by 2020, it needs to transform the perception of electric vehicles as a whole. And by doing that, it needs to capitalize on its current success by creating a mass market of zero-emission vehicles. By doing that, it should incorporate infrastructure as well as make appropriate vehicle designs to capture a broader market of consumers. Now, right here, we have a pest analysis, which is basically the framework of environmental factors. As you see, first, we have political. Currently, being green is politically correct, and with the government incentives given with the electric vehicles, it makes it even a bonus. Economic. As I previously said, government incentives are a driving force for these vehicles in following countries: US, Japan, and Europe. Not to mention, these economies have disposable income, and they're growing. Socio-cultural. Now, safety is an important factor when buying any vehicle, but Nissan needs to focus on rather the excitement and the appeal to grab more consumers. Technology. Just like any other technology improves, newer and better battery technology will improve as well, thanks to the factory automation and joint ventures. Now here we have our SWOT analysis. Now what sets Nissan apart from other car companies is that it's eco-friendly, it's safe, it's low on maintenance, and it has tax incentives. These tax incentives also play a weakness, along with the price, long charging time, the anxiety range, style and selection. Opportunities. Because the zero-emission vehicle market as well as electric vehicle market is so small, there's a lot of saturation and growth that can be done in this market. Opportunities also include increase in urban markets. And for our threats, because the zero-emission electric vehicle market is so small and not saturated, there's a lot of growth not only for Nissan, but competitors as well. Not to mention, internal combustion engines are also improving and getting better. Now here we have our target markets. As you can see, we've highlighted the United States, Western Europe, and Japan. And we still want to get into China, but due to protectionist roadblock, we aren't able to saturate the market as much as we would like to. Now here's a consumer analysis of your average electric vehicle and zero-emission buyer. They're normally a green thinker, which means they're very eco-friendly. They're an early adopter, which means they usually get the earlier technology. They're well-educated. They have a higher income, and they usually live in urban areas. Now here we have a US adoption stage. As you can see, Nissan is currently in the early adopter / early majority. If it wants to reach its goal of 500,000 zero-emission vehicles, or 10% of the market by 2020, it needs to highlight more of the early majority and late majority. Those are the people who tend to join the technology bandwagon a little bit later. Now here we have a comparison of electric vehicles, zero-emission vehicles, as well as internal combustion engines, with the Nissan Leaf being the base. As you can see, the Honda Accord is at 32%. It has high emissions as well as a high cost of ownership. Beside it, we have the Volt. It has a lower emission, but still has a very high cost of ownership. And below that, you see the Prius. It does have low emissions as well as a low cost of ownership, but not quite as low as the Renault Fluence and the Nissan Leaf. These have zero emissions as well as a low cost of ownership. As you can see, we've highlighted the consumer equilibrium, which is generally where the consumer wants the certain ideals. Challenges and concerns. Now, zero-emission vehicles are excellent in city driving, but compared to other car companies who have existing gas stations to ease the driver's peace of mind, zero-emission vehicles have a network of charging stations that they're tethered to, which is partially the cause of range anxiety, and charging stations, because there are a lack of charging stations. Which brings me to my next problem, the price. Even with the $7,500 tax incentive, the price is still too high according to consumers. Which brings me to my next point, battery life. Half of the battery is the price of the car. And since the battery is not reliable and no one knows how long the lifespan of the battery is, it's causing consumers to stray away from buying electric vehicles. Positive consumer perceptions. As you can see, the positive consumer perceptions are that any type of zero-emission vehicle is low in maintenance, it's safe, it's cheaper cost of ownership, as well as eco-friendly. Now my colleague Julie Shia will introduce our consumer marketing plan, as well as strategies and tactics.
Thank you, Juliana. So my colleagues and I have proposed a consumer marketing plan in order to get Nissan to that 500,000 mark by 2015 and that 10% market share by 2020. So there are three main goals that we hope to attain with our consumer marketing plan. And the first is to broaden the appeal to different demographics. Next is to magnify the total savings and the cost of ownership. We want to let consumers know that not only are you saving the earth when you buy an electric vehicle, you are saving money. We want to showcase the reliability of the zero-emission vehicles. We want to let them know that when they buy an electric vehicle, they can buy it with confidence. So our first stage of our consumer marketing plan was advertisements. And here we want to validate the EV. We want to change the perception from a futuristic car into a car that is present in reality. Second, we want to communicate environmental benefits. One thing that sets electric vehicles, a zero-emission vehicle, separate from the alternatives such as the Prius and the Bolt is it has zero emissions, which we want to promote the green as much as we can consistently throughout our campaign. We want to educate about battery and electric motor technology. We want to make sure that all information that consumers get about electric vehicles are accurate. Second, we want to transition from that early adopter that you saw in the bell-shaped curve to that pragmatist in order to capture that 500,000 mark by 2015. So my colleagues and I teamed up with the Chief Sustainability Officer of our city in order to create an infomercial for consumers. This infomercial would just be an example of what consumers would see from Nissan to inform them about and educate them about the true overall experience of owning an electric vehicle.
I am Donna Maria Harris, and I love my Leaf. I love the fact that I don't have to buy gas. I love the fact that the only time I really go to a gas station anymore is to buy a cup of coffee. The city has done a great job with installing electric vehicle charging stations in really convenient locations. And they've done this to help prepare for the rollout of electric vehicles and to support the adoption of electric vehicles. So if anyone has a concern about being able to find charging stations, I would tell them to check that off their list. In the dashboard of the system, there's something called Car Wings that comes with Leaf, and you can find out where the charging stations are. They just kind of pop up for you, so it's very convenient. It is very easy to charge. The lid pops open and you just plug it up. My electricity bill has gone up by about $10 a month. So I could never fill up my car for $10 a month, so it's an easy trade-off for me. I love the fact that the repairs on it are none to minimal. I don't have to worry about going in for a tune-up. I don't have to worry about the oil and filter change. It is a sweet ride. I mean, a lot of fun to drive. And it's got a banging sound system.
So that was our first stage. Our second stage would be endorsements. We have strategically chose two figures, Lionel Messi and will.i.am. Lionel Messi captures the global market, especially the European market, in order to gain the recognition to the Nissan brand. Second, we have will.i.am. will.i.am is known as an innovative and a creative being, so he's good for the US market. Let's go a little bit more in depth with Messi. So Messi provides a rags to riches story, and we've seen that consumers really enjoy to relate to a rags to riches story, someone who started early and was able to make it later on. He's also rated as one of the best football players of all times, and this can be seen by the FIFA Best Player of the Year 4 times in a row. Next, we have will.i.am, and will.i.am is really a jack of all trades. He's currently the Director of Innovation for Intel. He's philanthropic with his own profit organization, I Am Angel, and he's gained fame from his band, Black Eyed Peas. Our third stage is our Zero Emission Tour. So you've seen tours such as South by Southwest Music Festival and the Vans Warped Tour, and now we introduce our very own Nissan Zero Emission Tour. And what this tour does is it gets headlining acts such as Daft Punk and Calvin Harris in order to target that 20 to 29 demographic that we need in order to get that 500,000 sale. And as the tour acts go around the United States, it gets recognition for the Nissan brand and the zero emission effort that it's making. Next, my colleague David Hager will introduce our fleet marketing plan.
Thank you, Julie. Again, my name is David Hager, and I'll be presenting our fleet marketing plan, strategies, and tactics. So let's reassess the market. We have the individual consumer and the fleet market, as in government and commercial. The individual consumer wants reliability, affordability, and visual appeal from their vehicle. However, this is different for the fleet market. The fleet market wants affordability, a cheap cost to buy the vehicle. They want efficiency, that's going to be low cost when they travel, and they also want reliability, that the vehicle can get from point A to point B without any problems. Carlos Ghosn said in a press conference November 16th of 2010 that he wanted to reach 500,000 zero-emission vehicles sold, and we know from our case is by 2015. To reach this 500,000 mark, we have to fulfill our volume, and to do that, we have to sell fleet vehicles. So our global consultant team has proposed a Nissan Green campaign. This is our green team. And our green team will go to these high consumer economies such as the US, Western Europe, and Japan. We haven't forgotten about China. They just currently have a protectionist block that prevents us from incorporating our new technology in their economy. So when our green team goes to these high consumer economies, we're going to target the fleet managers. We're targeting the fleet managers because the fleet managers are the one in charge of putting the vehicles out into the economy. We're going to target them with magazines such as Fleet Europe and Green Fleet. As well, we're going to go present our new technology at conferences such as the Global Fleet Conference in Phoenix, as well as going to different websites and advertising our new technology. We're also going to buy a couple of email lists so we can reach out to these fleet managers. So we're breaking up our fleet managers into two categories. One, government fleet managers, who are going to be the ones in charge of putting our ZEVs out on a state and federal level. And we also have commercial fleet managers. These are generally private businesses such as Enterprise, Hertz, and FedEx. So these are our current alliance models. The Nissan has the Nissan Leaf, and Renault, the alliance model that Nissan has partnered with, has the Nissan Fluence, as well as the Renault Fluence, as well as the Renault KANGOO. So we're proposing, the Renault currently has a bad negative brand in the US. A lot of people don't like Renault. So we're going to rebrand the Renault name under Nissan only in the US. And we're also going to change the names. We're going to change the name of the Fluence to the Nissan Verde, and we're going to change the names of the KANGOO to the Nissan Express. So here are our brand markets. The Nissan in the US will be marketing the Nissan Leaf, as well as the Nissan Fluence or the Verde, and the Nissan KANGOO and Express. We're bringing the KANGOO and the Fluence and Nissan Leaf because, you know, US consumers want a better looking car. When we test drove the Nissan Leaf, we had a couple of bad opinions about it. We didn't think it looked so great, but the Renault Fluence has a better look and it looks more like a normal car, so we're presenting that as a stylish option. The Nissan KANGOO, on the other hand, or the Express, will be our fleet vehicle. It'll be the one in charge of delivering postal mail services and go back. All right. In Western Europe, we're only going to have the Fluence and the KANGOO. We're not bringing the Nissan Leaf to Western Europe because we're going to save on importation costs. In Japan, Nissan is a proud brand of Japan, and they were founded there. And we're going to keep the Nissan Leaf in Japan because it's already there. We're just going to continue to market. In China, they do have a form of the Nissan Leaf. However, there's a protectionist block preventing us from incorporating our other two vehicles. So we're just going to continue to push the Nissan Leaf in China. This is our battery technology chart. In 2011, the Nissan Leaf, when it first came out, the Nissan Leaf had 100 mile per hour charge. By 2012, it went up 20 miles per charge, and it reached to 122 miles per charge. From those numbers, we're projecting that the Nissan Leaf will increase by approximately 20 miles per charge every year. So by 2013, it should be 142 miles per charge. By 2014, 162 miles per charge. By 2015, 182 miles per charge. And finally, by 2016, we'll have 202 miles per charge. Why is that 202 mark so significant? Because this is where major players such as FedEx, UPS, and DHL will get more involved with our zero-emission technology. This is because they can begin to transport their materials from point A to point B over longer distances at lower cost because it's a zero-emission vehicle. It will also, as more of these, It will also, as the battery is at 202 miles per charge, consumer range anxiety will go down due to the fact that it can go farther distance without any problems. Volume pricing. I know it's a lot on this slide, but I'm gonna break it down to you. The Nissan Leaf, using that as an example, a current Nissan Leaf individual one is $32,000 before the tax incentive. We know that government and commercial fleets cannot obtain this tax incentive. It's only for the individual consumer. So we're going to take the tax incentive out only if the government or commercial fleets buy the 100 units. This is just a promotion to get them to buy more vehicles. If they buy 500 units, we'll take 10% down from the government. We'll take 10% down from the incentive price of $24,000 and make it $2,100. If for 1,000 units, we'll mark it 15% down, and for 5,000 units, we'll mark it 25% down. This is the same for the Nissan Leaf and the Renault Fluence. However, the Nissan KANGOO, we're not going to be marketing that as an individual consumer vehicle because of its size, and it's strictly for the fleets to transport their goods. So we're still offering a benefit if they buy 100 of their units. We're going to mark it down 5% from their original cost if they buy 100 units of the Nissan Leaf, 10%, 500 units, and so on. 1,000 units, 15% down, and if they buy 5,000 units, 25% down. This is our government fleet volume chart. I would like you to take a look at the highlighted price. As you can see, it's significantly lower than those of the commercial charts. We're proposing a GSA contract that all state and federal governments buy off of to increase their volume. So why is this price so low? Infrastructure. As the government increases their volumes, they'll start incorporating their own charging stations into the economy. The culture of the economy will start changing. You'll start seeing charging stations at gas stations as well as at businesses. As the government increases more volume, you'll see them, other businesses such as McDonald's and Kohl's building charging stations to incorporate the new ZEV drivers. Commercial fleets such as FedEx, Enterprise, and Hertz, as well as Priority Mail and UPS. Why would they want to buy our Nissan Express? It's because it's similar to the size of a regular mail truck or a delivery vehicle, so they can still transport their goods, but at a significantly lower cost because they won't be paying for gas. I will now present the mic to my colleague Cameron Lynch to present to you the risk analysis as well as the triple bottom line.
Thank you, David. For our risk analysis, we have a few things that may hinder our strategy plan. The first being the price of the fossil fuels, such as gasoline, falling. This could cause an increase in sales of ICEs and a plateau of sales for zero-emission vehicles. Also, the innovation of battery technology may lag, as well as alternative technologies merging together. And also, the last thing would be a $7,500 tax credit disappearing by the government for consumers. And for our triple bottom line, we have our three main aspects. We have the people, social responsibility, and economic aspect. For the people, you see the quote, enriching people's lives. That is Nissan's global vision, because people are their primary assets and they want their consumers to be happy with their services and products. Under social responsibility, through the Nissan-Renault Alliance, the Nissan Leaf is currently working on a battery filtration system, recycling system, and also because it is zero emissions, the Nissan Leaf is the greenest car in the market. And lastly, economics, we know that there will be a higher initial cost, but through reduced energy and through development of longer lasting batteries, we will expect to see a higher return on investment, because with a higher return on investment, it makes batteries longer lasting. And now back to Julie to explain financials and our conclusions.
Thank you, Cameron. So here we can break down just how we made our projections based by geographics. And we have that 500,000 mark by 2015. And as you can see by the key, the F represents the fleets, and the C represents the consumers. And this is just the amount of units we plan to sell for each. So for example, here in the US in 2011, we plan to sell 10,000 units, 6,000 to the consumers, 4,000 for the fleets. This is in order to get that 500,000 volume by 2015. As you can see, by 2015, we want to sell 222,000 fleet units in USA, 178,000 in Japan, 95,000 in Western Europe, and 5,000 in China. And we made this approximation based on the leaf sales that are current today. So based on these units, you can see the revenue increase by year. And I want to take your attention to the R&D expense. As we've stated before, battery technology is critical in selling more units as well as for the fleets. So as you see, each year we increase by about 100% our investment in the R&D, research and development. This is in order to reach that 200 mark milestone that we projected as soon as possible. So overall, Nissan's global vision is to provide the best products and services for their consumers. And while profit is essential, the well-being of the people and the environment are central in Nissan's strategies. Nissan and Renault have the critical first market advantage in the US as well as Europe. They also have the capital in order to invest in the electric vehicle market to make their mark in the electric vehicle industry. Our strategies, the consumer market plan and the fleet market plan, are hoping to make Nissan to that next level. For our consumer market plan, we have advertisements, endorsements, and a tour. For our advertisements, this is a mass market strategy. We want to educate consumers. That is our #1 goal. Let them know that the electric vehicles are reliable and they can work for them. For our endorsements, we want to gain recognition in the global perspective with Lionel Messi and the US with will.i.am. And for our tours, we want to hit that 20 to 29 demographic in order to get that same recognition to the zero emission effort that Nissan is making. Second, our fleet market plan. And our fleet market plan is critical because it provides infrastructure. My colleague David introduced volume pricing. The higher units that the commercial or government entities sell, the lower their price. As governments have more units, they must provide infrastructure to support these units. And this infrastructure does not only help the government, it helps consumers because consumers can then benefit from this same infrastructure. This all helps to establish our place in the auto market. We want to change the perception from electric vehicles to being super fiction, to being reliable technology that is for today. Thank you.
Now this brings us to our Q&A section. You'll have 10 minutes to answer questions from the judges, and I will let you know when you have 3 minutes and 1 minute. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You guys did a great job
Thank
at
you.
presenting your
Thank you.
case, so congratulations for that. My question is really around the volume projections. I think the goal is to get to 500,000 by 2020, with almost half of that being in the U.S. Did you factor into the fact that in the U.S. consumers typically don't buy cars based on economics? There's kind of this emotional attraction to why we buy cars.
Yes.
And so how do you plan for the U.S. to represent half of that demand?
Well, what we did was initially we saw the Leaf, and we saw that the appeal of the vehicle would only fit for people who are strictly going for the green, saving the environment. So our plan was to introduce the Fluence, which is currently in the French market, and import it over to the US. This strikes the appeal for a sedan rather than just eco-friendliness. So not only do they have a car that looks good and feels good to drive, but it's also a car that they can be saving money with as well. And also with their advertising and our endorsements, that strikes the most emotional appeal rather than strictly the green appeal.
Okay, and just as a follow-up to that, I think it was in 2009, Nissan had about 9,400 of the cars in the U.S. So the scale from that to 200,000, you're going to have the right budgets to support that from a marketing standpoint?
Yes, sir. All right, to increase the volume of the vehicles, we have to sell fleet vehicles because Nissan gave us a quick goal of reaching 500,000 by 2015, and then sustaining that 500,000 over the years to 2020. So to get to 2015, to get to the 500,000 by 2015, we're targeting the fleet market. And why? Because the fleet market buys the vehicles in volume. So they can buy our KANGOO Express to transport their vehicles. And of course, why wouldn't they want to buy our vehicle? It shows from the government standpoint, it shows that they're being green. And from a commercial standpoint, it shows that their company is being green, as well as they're saving significant costs on gas. So this is how we're going to get more vehicles onto the road. More importantly, when we have more vehicles onto the road, these government agencies, and as well as commercial businesses will start building their own infrastructure to incorporate their new vehicles. And when they do that, that would decrease range anxiety for the individual consumer going to purchase the car, because we'll have more charging stations on the market built by the government and the commercial fleets, and the individual consumer can use those charging stations, and that would decrease their range anxiety.
Again, great presentation. Enjoyed it, especially like the infomercial. I really want to go drive one of these cars now. I hope this is a fair question, but I keep looking at the price of the car for the technology you're getting, and I'm wondering what the average price to produce the car is versus the base sticker price of $32,000 versus the fleet pricing at $24,000.
Okay. Okay. So when we first looked at the Fluence and the KANGOO in France, it's currently posted. It translates to a U.S. price of $10,000.
$18,000.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. It's currently posted at a price of $18,000, which is pretty cheap. So we decided to move that after we imported to the U.S. We decided to use that price, the lowest that we can make it for the governments and fleets.
So what's the actual cost to manufacture? Is it 18?
It's 18.
Okay, that's tremendous. And then, go ahead.
The cost of manufacturing isn't 18. The selling price that they have in Europe as of now is $18,000 for the car. So when we ship it over here to the US, we're going to price that car up to the $32,000. That covers the import price and actually makes a higher profit, because the price we're selling here is significantly higher than the price we're selling in Europe, but it's marked with the standard price for vehicles here. The manufacturing price, we didn't get the exact price itself, but we made sure when we were doing our financials that while they have the volume prices lower, Nissan is still making a considerable profit, even with the volume pricing being that way it is.
Okay, it seemed like maybe for the first few years it might be a loss leader until you got the infrastructure and the volumes there, and then the other hurdle is going to be when you hit that 200,000 vehicle mark and you lose the tax credit, pricing is going to have to be changed again. But I was just curious about that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me also congratulate you on your presentation. Very good job. I was happy to see that you did do some risk analysis and you identified 4 bullet points. Pricing of fossil fuels falling.
Right.
Battery technology lags, yet on the other hand, there's a chart a little further in that talks about the growth of battery efficiencies. It looks fairly linear in nature from the years 11 through 16, where you're assuming a fairly standard growth curve. Alternative technologies emerge. Of those 3, I'd like to hear a little bit more background as to how that potentially impacted your economics. Did you really look at what price point fossil fuels may go to, the impact that cheaper production and usage may have on this concept in general?
Well, just in general, if you're looking at a internal combustion engine vehicle, if generally the price of gas is going to fall, it's going to lead to more increased sales, which is totally opposite what we're trying to do. We're trying to increase sales of ZEVs, but that would decrease the sale of ZEVs and increase internal combustion engine vehicles, because the price of gas would be falling and people would be more inclined to buying ICE vehicles instead of ZEVs.
Yeah. Fossil fuel prices are very volatile, so when you're looking at the rise and decrease, the consumers' buying habits generally run at the same trend as the price of the fossil fuels. So what we saw was, if we're going to make a projection of how we're going to sell our zero-emission vehicles, it's hard to make that projection, because if consumers are still being able to save money, not necessarily save money, but seeing that they can buy gas for $3 a gallon, they're less likely to go into a zero-emission vehicle or an electric vehicle, versus if prices are at $4 to $5 a gallon, they're more likely to look at other alternatives. So the volatility made it hard to make projections, but we just put that in there because that is a huge consideration when consumers are making the choice of ready-to-go electric vehicle or internal combustion engine.
Follow-up question on charging stations. You mentioned that there would be a substantial ramp-up of placing those strategically, just as fueling outlets are in the market today in and around convenience stores. Who pays for that investment?
Okay, so, all right, so the commercial business such as McDonald's and Kohl's would pay for the investment to incorporate their own charging station into their business. Why would they pay for that investment? Because as we increase the volumes of zero-emission vehicles, you'll see more in the market, and it takes about 30 minutes to charge one of these zero-emission vehicle cars. So they can charge it. Kohl's had an ad say, get a charge and stop while you shop. So they can charge their vehicle, and of course, nobody's just gonna wait in their car for 30 minutes. They're gonna go into the business and most likely buy something. So this is a mutualistic relationship that benefits both the business and Nissan.
Thank you. Excuse me. I think the budget to get to the 500,000 vehicles is $5 billion.
Yes, sir.
That's a global budget. How does that split out in your plan on the marketing side versus investments in plants and equipment? Is it mostly hardware, or is it more on the marketing side?
Well, the majority of our, in terms of the $5 billion cut, would go into the marketing aspects, the placement of the ads, the placement of the fleet managers, supporting their salaries, the importation of the affluents into the United States. So that's where the majority of the, not so much investments, because we're hoping with the institution of these fleets in the government, the infrastructure aspect can be taken on by the government. Because we spoke ourselves with a county official in our state, and they were stating how when they were looking into buying electric vehicles, it initiated them to also look into supporting it with infrastructure. And they saw that the more electric vehicles they invested in, the more infrastructure the city was more willing to invest to make. So that's why we came with our proposition to increase the volume in electric vehicle sales to the government, increase volume in infrastructure, which decreases our investment with that $5 billion into strictly infrastructure, and it lets us focus on marketing and just getting the electric vehicle name out there.
Okay. I assume that part of that investment will be in battery technology.
Exactly.
One of your charts showed a 20% increase per year
Exactly.
in the miles per charge. That's a fairly significant growth rate. How do you get there?
We base that on the projections that we've seen from 1 year to another. As we saw from 2011 to 2012, there's around a 22 miles per charge increase. And it was actually a conservative projection. Based on the conversations we've had, they were thinking of more. However, we kept it conservative in order to not let the consumer be disappointed with what we had. So the battery technology you saw with the research and development, that's where we invested a lot of our money in order to make sure the engineers are able to have the funding in order to find ways to get that battery technology. When we spoke with one of the sustainability officers, they said that around every 2.5 years, they're seeing it about like an 80-mile, they're thinking of an 80-mile per charge increase. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.